Welcome back to Little Miss Leadfoot. Today we are with Mike Geroni. He is the co-owner and driver of this fuel-altered funny car. It's the coolest thing ever, and he gave a little story about how it originated and came about. And it's a very interesting story. So I want to start off with that.
Yes.
With how you got your hands on this car.
Okay, so we have to go back to around late 2002. My dad ran a 68 Corvette that we were trying to bracket race with, and he wanted to go really fast with it. He had ran 10s, ran 9s. Then he wanted to break into the 8s and 7s, and he really wanted to go 200 miles an hour for some reason.
Just for fun.
For fun.
Yeah,
so he went with a bigger supercharger, 2 large Holly Dominator carburetors, and the thing just went every which way but straight. It looked like a gasser.
Oh, wow.
And it became very unsafe, so it's all right, let's sell it and get something a little bit more, more fit for it, so it actually could be controllable. So we sold it. He and our longtime family friend, Mike Judkins, who used to run Top Alcohol, they were kind of going back and forth over, let's build an altered, no, let's build a funny car. So this was a good compromise, because it was advertised as a funny car body, not as an altered body.
Right.
And 48 Fiats are more traditional in the altered sense. So at the time, there was only one in existence in the world, and it was out in California. And sadly, that one had gotten burned to the ground, so they made a second body for it. So they had looked into it, and they asked, is there any others in existence in the world? It's like, no, you guys would probably be the second person to have it.
Wow.
So this is technically the number 3 body that they've ever made.
That's really crazy. So this is one of a kind.
Yes.
Diamond in the rough.
Very
sort of thing.
Very much.
So how is it driving it? Because when you were talking about the tire chatter,
yes.
I did not put 2 and 2 together. I just didn't it didn't click for me, but you are literally sitting on that rear.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you're sitting in the eye of the storm, like I said before, where it's being between the motor, the transmission's at your feet, you're sitting above the rear axles, and the tires are at your sides. You feel everything that goes on. So the slightest little slip, the slightest little wobble, you're the first person to feel it, and it's you instinctively either go, okay, it's either going to be very bad, or I could drive through it.
Right.
So you play that gamble, and if it feels like it's going to be rough, just lift.
Right.
Otherwise, it's something you can just manage to drive through.
I guess that's a good thing about this, is that you can feel it, and you can really try and dissect what's going on with the car too.
Yes.
So any it's kind of like any little thing that you feel, you know exactly what that problem is.
Exactly.
And you can fix it right in the pits after the run. That's good, and with safety-wise, because how fast have you gotten with this car?
Career best right now is 675.5 at 199.76 miles an hour. So we just missed 200 by less than a quarter of a mile an hour.
Gosh. So is that your goal for this season?
It's been the goal with this car since day one.
Wow.
It's a 20-year venture between my dad and I. So more like he wanted to do it, but he broke it into the 6-second zone first. Then once I got into the 6s, it was all right, let's really go for it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what changes have you made for this racing season? This
season, we've switched over to a 572 big block Chevy as opposed to our normal 540 big block. Okay. Fresh tires all the way around, bigger fuel tank to hold more fuel, because we were running out of fuel at the end of the runs.
Okay.
And plus, we had a smaller tank at the time. And because of how bad the tire shake was at the end of the season last year, I really was worried about all of this, just from tire shake, because it'll really screw with your head.
Right.
Potential mini concussion.
I mean, you're right there.
You're right in there.
Yeah.
So heavy-duty roll bar padding, and just really wanted to beef up the safety for head, neck, and shoulder area.
Right.
Because to experience tire shake as bad as that was, I mean, you could be hurting there are times it'll hurt for a few days, but I've never had it last as long as that. So.
Well, I mean, I've never experienced a concussion, but I have experienced whiplash. But I can't imagine the G-force in this.
Yes.
I mean, when I took my license passes in the dragster, it wasn't fit for me, the dragster, number one. Number two, I didn't expect the launch force of it, and when I launched, my head just went back, and I was just staring up at the sky, whole way down, just like this. I had to bring my hand up and like pull my helmet back, so I can't imagine. And that was only at 170 miles an hour in the quarter, so I can't imagine the G-force in this.
With this, yeah, because we're covering the 60 foot with this thing in under a second, so it happens that quickly.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just brace for impact. You know, it's what to expect.
Just keep it straight. That's it.
Just keep it straight and just like know to aim for your target down track and just kind of prepare yourself. But I try not to tense too much because I know that'll wear out chest muscles and stuff.
Yeah.
So off-season workouts, a lot of like upper body, chest area, because it will knock the wind out of you just at the launch alone with this.
So you really do have to be physically fit for it too.
Yes.
That's crazy because it just goes back to the fact of like a lot of people not knowing about like sort of these cars and like what it actually takes to drive them.
Yeah.
It's more of like oh, you just go in a straight line. It's like
they take it for face value and say like, oh, that's easy, I could do that. It's like,
here's my helmet.
It's like, you think it's easy because you could do that in a straight line in the parking lot of a grocery store, but have you tried it with this?
Yeah, yep, exactly. No, it definitely takes a lot of talent. So you do nostalgia racing in this car. Could you explain to us what that means, what that is?
Nostalgia racing is it's simple drag racing with older cars, just replicating how it was done back in the day, like how it was when the sport was created in the mid to early 50s.
Yeah.
And we're just recreating that with more modernized technology, giving the older fans that grew up around the sport from back then, like a reminder of like, hey, we could still do this stuff to this day, and introducing it to audience members that never got to live it, and they can say, oh, now I got to see what that car was like back in the day, but with a more modern race setup, and give the fans something to kind of like put two and two together and kind of like admire and respect the history of the sport a little bit more, while at the same time we're putting on a show for them.
Yep.
So they get to experience what a race event or what a show would have been like back then with the old school funny car match races, like the Chicago style format of like 2 rounds, 2 quickest winning cars run each other in a final round, like the bigger show car lineups and stuff.
Yeah.
So the younger fans that never got to experience that, they get to come away with that and go, oh, that's really cool. And that's been the biggest struggle with nostalgia racing, has been trying to break through to that younger demographic and trying to make something fresh and new to them that will make them interested more.
Right. I mean, I remember when I was younger seeing the jet cars go down the track. Like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And they were so loud, too.
I'm still an aspiring jet car driver, but...
No, it was just
depends.
So cool. Whenever I see an alcohol funny car going down the track, too, like, it's always really nice to watch because you only really see that in pro funny car and Top Fuel.
Yeah.
And you don't really get to see that in person either. It's more of like you have to get tickets and go, and it's like definitely something that is worthwhile watching. And it kind of goes back to, you know, like what Don Perdome and Tom McEwen did.
Oh, yeah.
Like back in the day. Like
it's all about the rivalries. Races. Like the rivalries are what sell tickets.
Yep. And their rivalry was, you know, like that was iconic.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Part marketing ploy, part real life.
Yep, exactly. I loved watching their movies too.
Yeah.
Like that movie, it was so good. And it really just like shows where racing came from, because not a lot of people like really know about it, and like that's what I admire so much about what you're doing, because like you're showing the history of where it came from, where it originated, and it like allows us to be more grateful for where the sport came from. Yeah. And like how much it's like evolved, like the safety. Yeah. Like having the gas masks, like you don't have to wear
as
that.
Cool as they are. I actually have tried one out.
You have?
Yeah, last year at a Cackle Fest, a guy that we race with actually has the old school setup. Like he has a regular race helmet, but he has the open face helmet with the goggles and gas mask. And I sat in a vintage Top Fuel car one time, and I didn't wear it then, but we were pitted right next to Bruce Larson, who had his Nitro funny car, his original 68 Camaro funny car they raced in like 68, 69, running like a full load of nitro in it, and it was gassing me out so bad. And John Churchio, plug to the Warpath funny car, by the way, handed me his gas mask. It's like, here, wear this. So I had to take my glasses off, put the thing on. It was just like, gosh, I feel claustrophobic wearing this thing. It is strange because they had like the peepholes cut out and all that.
Oh my, yeah.
So,
I bet it's hard to breathe in that too.
I mean, I could breathe fine. It was just like the idea of having your face completely covered like that was freaky.
Yeah,
So,
most definitely. So now we're going to go into your junior career. So you started in juniors.
yes.
So did you grow up in a racing family? Dad's laughing in the back.
He giggles off screen. He's like, that's a silly question. Of course.
Yeah.
The answer would be, I feel, as my parents would describe it, I feel like I was practically born at the racetrack because my dad had raced the Corvette that we ended up selling. He drove that on the street for a while, and it was just a project car. So he just was racing that, and prior to him racing that, he had raced go-karts professionally.
Oh, wow.
So until he had like a near fatal accident in Pocono one year.
Oh, my goodness.
So from that, it went from, I'm going to drag racing, because he had followed it religiously as a kid, because believe it or not, right from where we're sitting at, 5 miles off the road, there used to be a drag strip from here.
Wow.
And he used to sneak into it as a kid. So,
of course.
So skipping ahead, diving back here. So he had raced at Maple Grove quite a bit, and we had seen throughout the 90s the birth of the junior dragsters coming through. So,
oh, wow.
So I remember seeing the very early ones come through around 92, 93, and I think 96, 97 was when my brother was old enough to start racing, and we bought our first junior dragster for him to race, and it kind of followed along. So once I was old enough, which would have been 99, was when I started racing.
That's awesome. How'd you like juniors? What's your...
It was such a simple time.
Yeah.
In comparison to today, oh my gosh, it's night and day.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it was such a fun time. I had more fun just because of the family camaraderie and the people that you raced with. It was a very family-oriented class, a very family-oriented sport, where now it's just so, like, the price of everything anymore. Like, I remember when cars turnkey back then were, like, maybe, like, a quarter of what they're worth now.
Yeah.
So
everything's just going up in price.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love juniors too, and I it's sad because it's not like broadcasted enough, I feel.
That's true. I feel the same about that.
It's not like, not a lot of people know about it, and the junior community is kind of like slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of sad to see that, because I truly learned everything I know from juniors, and like having that hobby on the side and getting to tell your friends, like, oh yeah, I race. They're like, what? Yeah, I race cars. Like, it's like that sort of thing of like saying like, yeah, I race cars, sort of, and like it just makes you feel, in my experience, it made me feel like so cool. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm racing a junior drag today. Like, it's so cool. And then I just met all my friends there. You just meet so many nice people. Yeah. And I love to say, like, you're friends until you line up against each other. But then after the race is done, you go back being friends again. Like, exactly. It's like that competitive side too. Yeah. And it's like a lot of fun.
And it was very cutthroat back then too. It was just, oh my gosh. The stories I could tell.
Go ahead.
Oh boy. Oh gosh.
What's your top story?
Oh gosh. Well, the top story junior racing wise is probably the one final round where my brother and I raced each other, and coincidentally,
of course,
because he and I, we pretty much made a nice system out of like the sibling team back then, and we ran it really well as opposed to some others, you know.
Yeah, but I've seen families with like 4 juniors, like 4 kids racing juniors.
And we were just, and it was just the 2 of us. So like the one race, it wasn't even a normal points race for us. It was a money race. And there was no ladder to run off of. It was like whoever you ran alongside of was who you ran alongside of in eliminations. And we just worked it out in a way where we were both going rounds enough. It's like, all right, let's space ourselves out enough. Right. And as we kept going rounds, we realized we were in the semis. We didn't want to race each other. But the people that were also in, they knew what we wanted. Yeah. So they're like, we're going to respect this. So we'll run, well, one race against Michael, the other one race against Ralphie. First pair out, I win. Person I race against, we hop out of our cars, quick run to the fence. It's like, let's find out if you're racing your brother. It's like, yeah, sure. He wins. He gets out of the car. He stands up, shakes hands with the person he runs against. We both look at each other and just go, "What lane you want?" And we settled it from there.
That's awesome.
I pushed my car back to Mom and Dad's trailer. He pushed his car over to his friend's trailer that he had camped out with previously. And it was like we were racing for blood that day. It was, we did not talk to each other till the very, very end of it.
That is awesome.
And that was one of those races where, like, we went into it mad as hell with each other, and we raced each other like we were each other's worst
who won?
enemy. He did. I actually found the time slip from that, or actually found the article that the track paper put up. Yeah, the racetrack's track newspaper actually put that out, and actually I found the article recently. I had him on the tree, which I knew was the case, but he ran the number on the dial-in, and I scrubbed it a little too much at the top end.
Oh, you gave it back.
Well, because I had looked over, I was trying to find him. I was trying to find him, and it's like, I don't see him, and I scrub it, and I see him dart over, and I see he scrubbed back. I'm like, oh, he's tricking me with this one. So I caught myself scrubbing it the second time, like, I threw it right back at him.
Once you hit that brake pedal just a little too much, you know.
When you see he's trying to do that, I'm like, you're tricking me. Don't do this.
Oh, he got in your head.
A little bit. But I still love him for it, though.
He can take that to the grave.
Yep.
It's fine. You'll give that to him.
Yeah.
No, that's really funny. I've had friends who, had like 3 siblings, and the parents would just be, God bless the parents. Like, you'd have the dad, and you'd have the mom.
Yeah.
The mom's like strapping the kid in, the dad's running the other kid, and then have to
who's got
hot lap it.
Who's got the handheld weather machines that can make sure the dial-in is right?
The parents running. It's always a show to put on, for sure.
Oh,
to see
Jesus.
that. Yeah, it's always a show. That's so funny. That's a good. That was a good story.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. So after juniors, what did you do after that with racing?
I went to college and started studying for business management and marketing.
Okay.
So I went to like a local community college and did like a part-time thing for about 4 or 5 years, roughly. Went to work, and at that point we had sold all the junior dragsters, and my dad was back to racing this for a while. So
he was the first driver of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since the car was built in 2003, he had been racing it. But, when you're involved in junior dragsters, it's like, how much time does he really have to race? Maybe like 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
So as soon as we had gotten out of juniors, it was like he had free reign to do whenever.
Right, right. He was like, finally.
Finally, he gets to come out and play. So,
yeah, now he gets to have fun.
Yeah, so we started like picking out races for him to go, and he was running in the brackets with this, doing bracket racing with it. And just... His mission was pretty much, let's piss off as many bracket dragsters that had like an advanced CT license that were running 720s, 730s, and show up dialing 7.0 with it.
That's awesome.
And since they were so used to being the guys that would hang back, now they had to leave first.
Yep.
So it caught them off guard of like, when do I look over?
Yeah.
So, and they would know he was coming because of like, everybody had the mufflers. He had the open zoomies like that. And he would just blow right by him, and like he'd run out the back door, run a number, and they'd get pissed off, throw their helmet. It's like, you shouldn't be running with us, which is kind of true, but because we should have been match racing in the first place with it, because we were trying to get involved in like Funny Car Reunion was a thing at the time at Englishtown, and that slowly had dissipated. But there were other nostalgia events and other match racing groups that were developing that we didn't know how to get into.
Right.
And keep in mind, this is pre-social media, so no real connection to any of that other than, like, if we were friends with somebody that worked at the track, who do you talk to?
Yeah.
You're networking the old-fashioned way where it's, like, pigeon mail.
Yep. So when did you get into the nostalgia realm of it? How'd you get to that part?
Just from crewing for my dad when he was driving, because I used to help him strap in and help him pack the chutes, help him refuel. He and our crew guy, Mike, were pretty much calling all the tuning shots. And I guess we hadn't known enough friends that were involved in nostalgia racing, because our friend Mike, he used to race a gasser as well. He was doing nostalgia racing with that.
Right.
And we were just kind of like, if you knew somebody, you knew somebody. So
right.
It was kind of, we were just kind of just going with the flow most of the time. So it wasn't until I got my license in this that my goal was like, I want to get this car into what it was supposed to do, which was do the nostalgia shows, do the Night of Thrill events, do some match racing events, get involved with some groups that are out there, and maybe be competitive in that.
Yeah.
And now this is like, you're realizing that Facebook is a thing, and I start getting myself into groups and stuff like that as I'm getting my license, just saying, hey, I'm this young upcoming driver. I want to get involved in this.
Okay.
And then everybody started getting eyes on me once they saw I had my license. I was starting to work my way up. So
you really just put yourself out there.
yeah.
Yeah, and then people started seeing you, seeing the car you were driving.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
They recognized the car because they're like, yeah, we've seen that car before, but like, you're not the original guy. It's like, yeah, because that's my dad.
That's funny.
So and then they realize, oh, you're this young kid that only raced juniors. And within the first year, I had I think I broke into the sixes within my first year of being licensed. And that really caught everybody's attention. And they're all like, okay, who are you? Where'd you come from? Do you want to run with us? So,
that's cool. No, that's really cool that you kind of were like the underdog.
Yeah.
And then you kind of showed them up. They're like, yeah, I came from juniors, but like I can do this.
But I can keep up. Yeah.
Yeah, like I can do it. I can do it all.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool because it's definitely hard to get, because like I love racing and I would love to do it as a career.
Yeah.
Like it's like I just want to do is race. That's it. That's all I want to do with my life. And it's definitely hard to get up into where you can actually make it something that you can do all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely, I mean, this thing, I'm sure it's, deep pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I can understand the stress of it.
Yeah.
In a sense. But no, it's really cool. I'm just trying to think of a question.
Yeah, I realized later on in that, I was just like, wait, I also did a music career while I was not driving. That's right. So,
well, tell us about tell us about the music career.
Yeah, so that was just a thing I just started doing like straight out of high school. I got involved with like some music programs as a kid that weren't like your typical school programs like pit orchestra or jazz band for high school. There was this organization in the area that was putting on shows that kids were getting mentorship from local big name talent, and we were putting on like big rock shows playing like classic rock songs and stuff.
Cool.
And you meet friends out of that. It's just like, hey, you want to start a band? And we it literally was like a School of Rock thing. And like I think I started my first band right as I was starting college, so my entire marketing and business management time while I was studying, I was using my band as a guinea pig.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun to use that.
That is fun.
And also utilize a little bit of like what I know from racing and kind of sort of bringing the two together. But really, I was having a lot of fun playing music and was just like, racing will be there. I'll get back to it. And it's like once you start getting the itch again, you got to scratch it.
Yeah, tell me about it. The withdrawals are just not fun. But so it sounds like you love entertaining people.
Yeah. That's
really cool with the nostalgia and the band.
Yeah.
So what do you do outside of all of that, your career?
I mean, I work in a CNC machine shop, so I do metal shop outside of racing, but gosh, I mean, I'm just constantly doing music, and
that's awesome.
Actively playing two bands right now. Stillcraft, which is the band that I sing and do a lot of songwriting for, and Chelsea Lynn Meyer Band, which is I'm the band that I just do lead guitar and do some backing vocal work. So
you got two bands.
Yes.
That's really, really cool. That is really cool.
So they keep me pretty busy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
All while trying to be a homeowner and like adulting. So.
Well, it sounds like you're doing what you love, which is really, really cool. I mean, you're racing, you're playing music, so that's really cool. Like a lot of people strive to do that and be able to do that. So you definitely, you should be proud of yourself for what you've accomplished, because I'm trying to get there, like doing what I love to do.
There are days I'm still not satisfied, and I just go like, I'm still digging.
Yeah, just keep going. I mean, you keep achieving, like, and then keep achieving even more.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, give yourself a break and be like, okay, I did do this.
Yeah.
But, like, I definitely want to push the limit and do something else, too. No, that's really cool. So, when do you get to test this car?
Well, probably by the time this comes out, I'll probably already be tested.
Nice.
But from this current moment from when we're sitting, we test in 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks roughly, and then our season opener will be at the end of May.
Wow.
Sometime.
So do you travel around the country or mostly the East Coast?
Mostly the East Coast.
Okay.
So like we'll stick to like the local tracks around here. Like Maple Grove is our home track, so we'll probably either test there. Atco is a close second, so we'll run at either Maple Grove or Atco for most of the time.
Okay.
We'll go out to Island Dragway because they have a big funny car.
Really?
They have a big funny car show at the beginning of August, which is like the track's anniversary show, which is a big nostalgia event.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we were a part of the show last year.
Oh,
We're a part of the show again this year.
I gotta come out to that then.
Yeah, that'll be a fun show. Biggest event on the schedule this year will be at Maryland International Raceway because Funny Car Chaos is finally coming east.
That's cool. And
we're doing the Burnouts for Bunny Burkett Memorial Race, which is mostly altereds and slingshots, and we're one of like close to 30 cars in that show.
Wow.
And we're actually going to be competing in that one.
So do you have to qualify to get into the show?
For that one, yes. There's actually going to be an ET bracket to actually get into that one.
So what ET do you have to make?
Since it's eighth, they're running that as 8th mile. So I would imagine, based on the cars that are there, we would probably have to break well into like the mid-4s to really get into the show because it's anything goes with that because there's a couple of big nitro fuel alters that are coming, a couple of blown alcohol alters that can well run into the 4.0s and 420s, and we're just nibbling at the 420 area. We're like that 420, 430 range. So we'd be solidly in, but it's just a matter of the couple of nitro cars that are coming and just strategizing, all right, how do we beat them? Because we know they can break into like the 390 4.0s. So it'll be a heads up kind of deal.
So that's what you do is like heads up.
It's heads up, run what you run, like the way you see the pros run.
Yeah.
And how they run, it's kind of like qualify number 1 to 16, but with this, with as many cars as they have, they actually make pool brackets. So it's like 1 through 8's your A field, 9 through 16's your B, and so on.
Okay.
So, and there's a winner in each one of those.
Each category.
So yeah.
Okay. So when you race in nostalgia now, with bracket racing, which is I would say the hobby sport in a sense, we race for to win.
Right.
So nostalgia, do you still race to win? Do you still get like a payout? Do you
for some of the classes, they still do. For what we're doing, we're just the entertainment, like the pro show kind of thing. But there is money involved in that.
Do you guys do a pot, like among the racers? Do you guys do a pot?
Not necessarily, but we could. We very much could because I know how a lot of the car owners and drivers, they could be keyboard jockeys if you catch my drift with social media. So I just wish they would be smarter with marketing that a little bit and actually like throw some money down and be like, $500 says I'll kick your ass for this or whichever. And like, kind of utilize that Street Outlaws kind of logic where like they could really capitalize the rivalries that we have going on. And if they promote that and put that on blast, it might actually it might bring more audience into it.
Yeah, kind of like Snake and Mongoose.
So we would be able to really reincarnate that, not so much in the physical sense like a lot of the older guys would like us to, but it's, like I said, it's more about trying to get a newer audience in.
Right.
And with Street Outlaws doing what they're doing, it's very much like pro wrestling where it's like they're chirping at each other and like throwing insults at each other and bashing each other. And it all stops when they actually have to go ahead and go fight. So for what we're doing, it'd be cool to kind of use that same formula and utilize that and do that with this stuff.
Yeah, that would be really cool because, I mean, no one really knows about it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people know about it when you're in it.
Yeah.
But like Street Outlaws and like No Prep Kings, you can watch that on your. You don't even have to be in the racing realm to enjoy that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you go up to someone that watches Street Outlaws and say, "Hey, do you know about nostalgia racing?" I'm sure they wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
And like that's why like I feel like it's so important that like I do this interview.
Yeah.
Because like to put that out there and to like really like kind of like show people like there is another side of racing.
Yes.
You know, there is. It's not just bracket racing. It's not just top fuel racing.
There's so many subgenres and subcultures of the same sport that exist, and people say, well, I wish this existed. Well, it's like,
It does.
it does. It's not that hard to find.
Yeah, it does. No, that's, yeah, and I agree with you. I think bringing more attention to the sport and more, like, why don't we do a pod? Why don't we do some of this behind the scenes and record it and, like, or even, even record it, but even, like, bring more attention to it.
Yeah.
And it would just, I think it would really, like, make the sport even, like, cooler to watch, too. So I agree with that. Trying to think of a question. I always get like brain blocks sometimes because we get into the conversation and I'm just like, okay, yeah. Where do we go from here now? Okay, so I have a good question actually.
Okay.
So what was the most scariest moment you've had in this car? And I'm sure you've had a lot.
Oh boy. Probably right before I went my first 6 with the car. I had gone 7 flat, and right before that run, when I was licensing in the car, they only gave me like half throttle, and I was running quick enough to get my advanced DT license, which was like 740, 730, and figured first run of the season, get my feet wet. Let's get reacquainted with that kind of setup. So I make a couple of laps with that, and it's just like, okay, this is fine. And then my dad goes, what do you think? Want to go for it this time? I'll take the burnout chip off this time and give you all of it. It's like, okay, sure, why not? I was not prepared for what was going to happen in the burnout because we had an actual physical stop on that, and this time was actually just a clip-on kind of stop for the burnout. And the throttle was slow coming back when I did the burnout. So, and I was feathering it, and it kind of goes sideways.
Oh, no.
And as soon as I got out of it, I felt the tires dig in. It goes back,
other way.
And everything went instant 45. And I'm like, please don't roll over. Just kind of just leaning over like this. It's just like, this landing is going to hurt. And came right back, hit my head against the roll bar a little bit.
That was fun. I'm sure that was a little fun ride.
Little birdies kind of like float around
right.
and just kind of calmed down. And he's like, you all right in there? And I'm like, I think so.
That's so funny.
And then I just backed up and went for the run. So it's just like, just brushed it off. It's like nothing.
Get back in it.
Nothing hurts. It was just a little pop. All right, let's go. That woke me up.
Now we know why we have
roll bar padding.
Yeah, and burnout chips too.
Yes. For those that have to use them.
Yes, I'm gonna have to use them.
Yeah.
I do want to actually learn how to feather it, just in case the burnout chip.
Yeah.
Burns up at some point, because I do need to learn how to feather that. But
with this, it's so much easier. It's just flicking the ankle around a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. So have you ever had any scary moments down the track? You've always kept it straight?
Always kept it straight to a degree.
We got dad chuckling back there.
Straight to a degree. I'll stick to my answer. I will stick to my answer because there have been times it does veer away from me at times, but nothing enough to make me like really panic and just like
want to correct it.
Like not enough to make me like accidentally overcorrect, but just quick enough to just realize that if I'm getting towards the wall, it's just, and I try to keep bringing it back. It's just it's not working for me. I just get out of it and just like save it for another day.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that before. That is just rather let off and just save your life and save the car.
Yep.
It's not worth trying to get back in it.
As we say, people can't be replaced. Cars can. So.
Yes, that is so true, and it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely scary, and it's unfortunate that most of motorsports is the crashes.
Yeah.
Like that's the sad aspect of it.
Yeah.
Is that like, whoa, you get to see the cool crashes and stuff.
And you have like if somebody crashes in front of you, or like if you're a pair that's in waiting and you see it happen right in front of you, or you already run and somebody does that later, you kind of have to take a minute to kind of go and check out, make sure, if they're okay. But when you see the extent of the damage, it's a little bit of a wake-up call. Just like, remember, like, this stuff can happen. It can always come up and bite you when you least expect it.
My dad told me a story of when we were at Englishtown for the Nationals.
Yes.
And I was young. How old?
6, 7?
Yeah, I was younger than that. I think I was like...
The Scott Coletta crash?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
I remember when that. Yep.
I don't think we were there for it. Yeah, we left just before it.
Oh,
but
boy.
my dad told me the story about it. They found his motor across the track.
Oh my gosh, yep. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I'd believe that. Yeah.
Like they found like the motor. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what exactly happened, but the motor like what blew, and it just
Yeah.
it like launched across the track.
Either the throttle stuck or he had a heart attack or something.
Or the explosion concussion knocked him out. Maybe that's what I've been hearing consistently was that.
That's such a shame.
Because no chutes, no nothing.
Yeah.
Right into the sand.
Mm-hmm.
No chutes, no nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Went over the sand.
Went over the sand?
Yeah, he didn't touch the sand. The car launched over the sand.
Jeez, yeah. Yep.
That's why it didn't slow.
Well, that's what. Yeah, you almost did the same thing, sir, with this thing. Oh yeah, scary story with him.
Okay, tell it.
Okay, so I guess to answer the scary rides thing, I think he's had more scary rides than me.
Oh wow.
So
maybe he should come over here and tell
yeah, lived to tell a tale about how he hit the spoiler plate at Pocono, right? With go karting. Oh boy. Yeah, well, that's a story we'll tell off camera. But this was like when I was crewing for him, and it's partially why the paint on the front of the car is kind of a little different from everything else, because you'll see there's a picture of the car over there on the wall. See how it was like blue and orange?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was the way the car looked like when it got painted. Okay. So he had ran the carburetor setup that we had with the Corvette with this. And it went 710 on that run, and then like later on, it had spun the tires, and I guess he got a little angry about it. Throttle linkage went over center. He had the chutes out. I'm radioing him that it went like a 720 something or other, and he calls back in the radio saying, "I'm going into the sand," and we were all just like, "Wait, what?" So, and then he says, "I'm going into the sand," and next thing you know, you see this plume of dust at the bottom end. I'm like, get on the golf cart, let's go, like now. And of course our golf cart's like slow as crap.
Oh my God, yeah.
So.
Got the little electric one? Those go slow.
No, it was a gas powered one.
Oh, yep.
But it was like this old beater one. Is just like it just kept like popping and spitting and stuff like that.
It always pops.
And we're all like crying. It's like we haven't heard from him. We haven't heard from him. But we saw he was walking around down there and he was fine. It was just mostly cosmetic damage though. But what had happened was the throttle had stuck open. He was able to hit the chutes, but he had no real way to get to a kill switch. So.
Did you have a kill switch?
We have like 3 of them now as a result of that.
Oh.
So what we did after that was, I made a third parachute lever. It looks like a third parachute lever, but it's a direct line that goes to the cutoff switch that's in the back of the car, the pull-push switch. Mm-hmm. So that's all wired to that. So if I'm reaching for the chutes and that happens, I can reach over and hit that in case of a real serious emergency.
Right.
The other thing is to adapt. I adopted something out of junior dragster racing with the kill switch on the steering wheel. So I can just move my thumb over, click,
right.
Done.
That's easy. That's easy access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the fuel shut off, so I can, because fuel pump is mechanical, so I can open and close it. So if I can let it run out of fuel, shut that off. And just part of my shutdown routine, it's always been, or when I go through traps, it's chutes, and I'll slap the shifter into neutral so it coasts, so it's no longer driving.
Yep,
it's no longer
smart.
in drive. So that way everything is calming down, and if the RPMs are still up, it's just, okay, now I can just hit everything else. So I've already eliminated the whole possibility of a car being completely out of control.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that a crash can start innovation.
Yes.
Like, it makes you think of things that you didn't think of before.
Yes.
Like, take Don Garlitz, for example.
With from slingshot to rear engine.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, when the clutch blew off his foot, he was like, maybe it might be safer to put that engine in the back, you know? And now we have the rear engine dragster.
Yeah.
Which, it's unfortunate he had to go through that accident and lose a foot, but now we have a safer way of racing.
Yes.
In a sense. And I'm sure the slingshot dragsters now, while they're probably not as safe as the rear engine, there's safer ways to race it
There's
now.
safer innovations now. Yes.
For sure. And, like, I know racing back then was way more popular than it is now, like, drag racing-wise, but definitely safer, less crashes.
Yeah.
I know, like, rear engine or front engine dragsters would be smoking the tires the
Yeah.
whole way down
Yeah.
the track.
But that footage is so cool, though.
Yeah, oh, it is. Oh, of course. Of course, it's so cool.
Spend a few hours on YouTube and you'll...
Yeah. Yep. Honestly, look up like front engine dragsters, funny cars, any sort of racing.
Any sort of old like footage that's floating around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And it is unfortunate that we have to, get into accidents to figure out safer ways to alter the cars, but it's definitely we're fortunate for it.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I know I am.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's gonna be scared once I get into my dragster. For sure. He's scared already. So I'm just gonna have fun. I'm just gonna be like,
that's
finally.
That's all that matters. It's just having fun.
Yes,
that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That is all that matters.
Why don't you tell them what happened when I told you to put your hand on the window? We were.
Oh
we
yeah.
went to English Town. We were in the things over the track. The press boxes.
Oh yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
when the top fuel was running, I said, Melissa, go up there and put your hand on the window. Tell them what happened.
I mean, I don't
You
remember.
don't remember?
Well, I mean, I do remember. It was like shaking, and I was like,
The window
"Whoa!"
was shaking.
Yeah.
When they hit the throttle.
Yeah.
She took her hand off that window, and her eyes were like, that big.
I guess I was in shock.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, those things are crazy. It's like a mini earthquake in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole ground just shakes. It's so cool.
And I have a friend that drives Joe Morrison. He switched over from Top Fuel to Funny Car this season, so
That's cool.
Yeah, so I've been learning more like firsthand experience of like.
I've always wanted to race a funny car. Always. I've always loved them. I never understood why they were called funny cars, but my dad told me when I was younger.
Yep, it was all about the altered wheelbase and that they looked as
altered
goofy as goofy looking as they were.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It is they are really cool. They're like just a really cool setup. Mm-hmm. And it's just like there's more substance to it.
Yeah.
And the look of it is just really cool.
And not just the look of it, but like the experience of driving one is
I never get to I don't get to say that. You get to say that.
Yeah, because I've gone from dragsters to this, and with dragsters, with everything being behind you, you can hear and feel everything, but it's behind you, but you can see everything.
Yeah.
With this, I mean, most funny cars is like with the bigger windshields and stuff like that. Yeah, you can see a lot, but it's like
very minimal.
but you're kind of sealed off from everything else. Like some of them have like the open side windows, so that way crew guys can reach in and whichever. Yeah. But with this being as completely closed off as it is, with the exception
you don't
of
really got much opening.
With the exception of a few like little cutout holes for for EMTs to kind of point their extinguisher inside.
Yeah.
That's really why the hole is there. But once everything's sealed off, all the noise is outside, so it's really quiet inside the car. It's much quieter than most people would assume.
Yeah, that is really crazy to know that it is much quieter.
It's like
because you're right. You're like in the motor.
Yes,
like you are
practically there.
Part of the car.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Like you are literally sitting in the tires.
Yeah.
I'm sure tire chatter is crazy.
It is. It's
bumpy ride.
It's not fun.
No, yeah. Bumpy ride. I'm sure.
Advil will be your best friend the next day.
Yeah, I remember tire chatter in the dragster, and that took me by surprise. I can't imagine it in there.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's nuts. It is absolutely nuts.
But I'm sure you have a blast.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's an experience in itself that's very hard to describe.
Yeah.
But like the best way I could describe it, it's like it's a mix of like Harry Houdini and Edgar Allan Poe's worst nightmare balled into one. It's like being buried alive and trying to make an escape attempt at the same time.
That's a really good way to put it.
While arm wrestling a bear. Should we mention that? Oh, and by the way, the thing's moving at the same time. So
that's a really good way to put it. That is a really good way.
That's the best way I've described it to people who don't follow drag racing at all and just go like, so what's it like in there? It's like, I just tell them that.
Yeah. It's a really good way to put it, honestly. That is awesome. So my last question for you is, do you think you found your Leadfoot?
Yep, we're good. No, for real though, I think I've always known I've had one, and when I first put my foot to the gas pedal in a junior dragster in 1999, I knew I had one. So from there, haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. This is why I love doing these interviews, just like to like uncover all these stories, because no one knows your stories except for you.
Right.
And like you don't get to tell them to everyone because the conversation doesn't really come up as
Yeah.
often. So I'm really happy I got to interview you today and really uncover and like the lineage of this car and what you do. Nostalgia racing is just so important, I feel, to know the history of
Yep.
drag racing and bring it to life, which is what you do, which is
Yep.
awesome. And even what you do outside of racing.
Yes.
Because you have a whole other life too.
Yeah.
So it was really an honor to interview you today. To see Mike's interview, go to littlemissleadfoot.com and then go to Little Miss Leadfoot on YouTube. And stay tuned for more videos to come. Racing is coming up very soon, especially for Mike.
Yep.
So it's gonna be fun this summer. I'm excited, and I'm excited to meet new people and to really just show everyone's racing journeys. So stay tuned. And as my dad would say, see you in the lanes.
Awesome.
Okay. That
Nice.
was awesome.
Yeah.